Hello and what's up everyone, welcome to another guide. This is Ajol and today we are going to talk about key bindings. We are going to split this guide into three parts: keyboard layout, key binding settings, and key bindings examples. Now first let's dive into my keyboard layout. As you can see on the screen, I've separated the importance of certain buttons by their colors. Obviously the yellow is for movement, WSD, the red color is for quick reaction and spammable abilities, as those are close to WSD buttons. The orange color is for minor cooldowns. The pink one is for major cooldowns or abilities you rarely use. The teal color is for modifiers, and purple is for target and jump keys, those being tab and spacebar. That part of the keyboard I basically use for every character I play, so it can serve like a general guideline for buttons to use and how easily you can reach them. Now before we jump to the key binding settings, we have to take a look at the action bars. Make sure you check the bottom left bar and the bottom right bar, and also make sure you check the lock action bars setting. Now after we've done that, we can move on to the key binding settings. Overall, to make sure we are not going to malfunction any of our macros, we are going to unbind a lot of keys. We are going to keep move forward and move backward. However, you can unbind the S key as well and use it for something else, as well as change the strafe left and strafe right key to A and D, or whatever your other preference is. And that's because the general way you want to move, if you would keep your old bind settings, you'll move something like this when you press A or when you press D, and you don't really need that inside of any PvP or even PvE content. If you are going to change that to strafe right and left, you are going to pretty much move like this. However, in most situations, and I'm telling this to new players who probably don't know about this, you can hold on to the right mouse button and you pretty much can control any direction you want to move. Just press the right mouse button and press either A or D or W, and you can turn around the screen or the direction you're going or aiming or anything like that. I think you get the picture once you will take a spin for yourself. Now returning to the key binding settings, we are going to move through every section, and you will see, as I will zoom in, you will have to unbind a lot of the keys because some of them use modifiers like Alt or Shift or Control, which in turn will affect your macros. For example, like Control R or Alt R. If you have macros that are set on the R button, if you already have assigned key bindings to that command, it will impair or malfunction your macros, so make sure you unbind everything that is not necessary to you. So in general, you want to avoid combinations like Alt 1, Alt Q, Shift R, Control F, Alt F, Alt C, Alt R. I don't really know all of them by heart because I've changed them like a long time ago. Now moving on to the action bars. As you can see, I am keeping all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 available and not altering them at all. However, starting from 6 all the way to equal, I have Z, X, G, V, Q, E, and F. This is the regular action bar and everything else is unbound. Moving on to multi-action bar, we can see an additional action bar above my regular action bar. And here we have mouse wheel up, mouse wheel down. Again, make sure in every key binding you will have unbound anything that is related to mouse wheel up or down. Otherwise it's gonna create malfunctions. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Then I have R, C, T, Y, B, H, cancel button, I don't know what this name is, caps lock, mouse button 5 and mouse button 4. Of course, if you have extra mouse buttons, if not, you can assign something else or don't use these at all. And again, everything else is unbound. For targeting, the default targeting is the tab button or shift tab. You can see target nearest enemy or target previous enemy. This is usually easy, however in certain matchups you will have to scroll through the entire enemy frame targets. For example, against a Death Knight you will have to scroll through all of his minions. Against a Shaman you'll have to tab or scroll through all of his totems, so I usually recommend something like either targeting arena 1, 2, 3 or changing the tab button to target nearest enemy player. This will make sure whenever you press tab you will always target the nearest enemy player. However, you should always have a different keybind specially designed in arenas, which will target arena 1, 2, 3 to easily scroll through them or mouse over or things like that. We'll talk about macros in a different video. Again, you will see anything else with modifiers is unbound. I never use control tab or control shift tab, that's a nightmare to use. And targeting nearest friend or previous friends, I never do that because I always target my teammates via macros. Moving to interface panel, some of these things are also unbound. For example, I remember toggle character panel is usually C, everything else is pretty much changed. I think toggle achievement frame is usually Y. We have the miscellaneous tab. If anything is out of order here, just use the unbind key and make sure all of your macros or key bindings will properly work. For camera, very important, you can see here I have zoom in and zoom out used by square brackets. That is basically to allow me to use scroll mouse button, target markers, that's completely new to me, and vehicle controls pretty much obsolete unless you're playing like Wintergrass Battlegrounds or something like that. Now moving on to key bindings examples. Let's start scrolling from 1 to F, the first action bar, the normal action bar. In regular caster form, we have on 1, we have Sunfire, Moonfire macro, then I have Hibernate with Wrath, with cat form, which will put me obviously in cat form. Then 5 we have Shadow Melt with Innervate. For Z, X Bash, G for Bark Skin and Iron Bark, V for Overgrowth, Q for Vortex and Entangling Roots, E for Dispelling. I pretty much for every healer I'm using E as a dispel or a movement mechanic. So for example on Druid I have on E I have both dispelling, friendly dispelling and wall charge. And for F we have Swift Mend. For the additional action bar on Druid I have scroll up, scroll down for travel form. I have R for rejuvenation combined with Soothe. I have regrowth combined with the former Crucible of Flame. I have T for life bloom combined with efflorescence. Y, I sometimes use it in dungeons, I think, so in PvP I never touch Y. For example, on other classes like Mage, I have intellect buff. For B, I have my Bear 4 macro, kind of obvious. For example, on Mages, I'm using Ice Block. Moving on to H, we have Tranquility, another long cooldown. It's kind of far from the WSD buttons, so again, it's a long cooldown. It's not that inconvenient to reach and press. And for the cancel button I have Thorns. Now on every class that I actually play I have caps lock with medallion. The reason for this is caps lock is a big button and it's right next to WSD. I've been using this for a very long time and it never failed me. Even in BFA I had this medallion macro combined with the cloak from Wrathion, which will allow me to dispel any effects of Enzoth and become immune to any further corruption effects for 6 seconds. This was pretty easy to use. On mouse button 5 I have Mount, and on mouse button 4 on Druid I have this Frenzied Regeneration, and those are pretty much all the buttons that I'm using. Now before we wrap this video, let's take a quick look at the priest as well, just so you get like a general idea of how I'm using keybinds in general. I keep saying general for some reason. For 1 we have Smite, for 2 Purge the Wicked, for 3 Power Word Solace. On 4 we have Mass Dispel, 5 is Rapture, Z is Shadow Fiend with Drinking, X is Power Word Barrier combined with Power Word Fortitude, G is Power Word Shield combined with Desperate Prayer, V is Psychic Scream combined with Mind Seer, Q is Mind Blast combined with Shadow Word Death, E again Friendly Dispel, F is for Penance. Moving up to the additional action bar, we have Scroll Up, Scroll Down for targeting arena frames. We have R for Purge, and I was also using this for Heart of Azeroth abilities like Vitality Conduit Major or Friendly Crucible of Flame. For C we have Shadow Mend and Offensive Crucible of Flame examples. For T I have Pain Suppression, a long cooldown. For Y I have Leap of Faith, it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. I have it macroed like a specific target. For B I have Holy Nova. For H I have Mind Control. For Council button I have either Dark Archangel or regular Archangel or Thought Steal. For Caps Lock I have either Will to Survive or the regular Medallion. Again for mouse button 5 I have Mount, and for mouse button 4 is the Forbidden Obsidian Claw. And with that being said, I think we pretty much covered everything about my key bindings. I hope this was helpful. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Next video will be about macros and different tags for macros. So until next time, I wish you all a PvP day. Thank you all for watching, and bye bye.